Hi, my name is Lindy Jung, and we are going to ignore the backdrop. I know that by pointing it out, it makes it worse, and I know you guys see it every time, but this is not a bed that I sleep on, for the record. It is a bed that I use for storage. It just always is gonna look like this. I've kind of given up on making it look nice. But hi, my name is Lindy Jung. I am a science fiction and fantasy writer. My debut novel, MOTHSBLOOD, a dark academia adult fantasy set in Paris about an ambitious alchemist on the run from her past, getting involved in the murder of an immortal, comes out in October, so in like 8 months, from Del Rey in the UK and Bloomsbury in the US. It is available to add on Goodreads and Storygraph. It is also available to pre-order. We have a really nice deluxe edition coming out. That was maybe too much for the intro. I'm still workshopping that, but a lot of information about MOTHSBLOOD has come out in the past like month or so. So if this is your first video with me in a minute, I'm sorry, but that is not why we are here today. I have been really enjoying and deriving a lot of purpose, meaning, I don't know. I've been enjoying making these sort of like rambly sit-down introspection videos, I think because I'm just at a stage where I'm thinking about everything I'm doing all the time. State of the world has me turning inward a lot. Being able to process those feelings, especially surrounding creativity and the purpose of creativity when, you know, I'm starting to merge it into a career and also at the same time, the world is burning. I've just found that to be really helpful, and I think that these are pretty good videos for me to make, even if they're not necessarily going to resonate with everyone. That's my long-winded way of saying that this is going to be another sit-down, chatty, processing type video. Overall, you know, it's February 15th, 2026. I've been feeling the weight of things a lot this year, whether that is, you know, the greater state of politics and society, or just how my career is affecting my day-to-day, how my life and its twists and turns are affecting how I feel and how I think of myself. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anyone else has been feeling similarly, but it's been a heavy year. And it's only February, so what are we gonna do about that? I don't have an answer to that, but as has always been the case, creativity has been a major outlet for me. I think that a lot of folks are probably feeling really, really similar. But then I kind of found myself in that line of thinking of, well, as someone who is now starting to make money off of the things I create, how am I going to make sure that creativity remains this sort of place of solace for me, a way to express myself, indulge, enjoy myself, create something rather than consume something? That's kind of why I've always been drawn to creativity. But now that money has kind of entered the equation and I'm thinking about bigger things like my career and people actually packaging up my writing and selling it as a product, people reading my books and making judgment calls about it or about me, those feelings about creativity have gotten muddy. It feels less like an escape and a lot more like work or an obligation, especially when it comes to writing. In this video, I'm going to talk about some ways that I am going to and have previously stoked my creative fire and made sure that creativity remained something that is meaningful to me for more than just the money it brings in or job obligations. So yeah, gonna be a pretty chill video. Sit back, relax. You can put this on in the background as you're getting some creative work done, sketching, writing, whatever it is that you like to do. And let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing, definitely at the top of the docket for me, is pursuing non-writing creative hobbies. I think just because of like time constraints, a lot of my non-writing creative hobbies, a lot of those have fallen to the wayside just because I feel like I don't have enough time in the day. And when I do have time, like for example this weekend, I feel so concerned about making sure that I'm stuffing it with productive things. Whenever I think of the word productive, I always think of the things that bring in income or kind of progress my career in some way. So for example, writing the next book that I want to submit, making YouTube videos to promote the book, doing social media posting. I am trying to find ways to purposefully set aside chunks of time to indulge in these hobbies that I'm doing for no one other than myself. I have a lot of these. I think that being an ADHD person who picks up a new hobby every 3 months has kind of helped me gain random skills like knitting and crochet. Lately, my hobby of choice has been painting my nails, which doesn't necessarily sound like super artsy, but it's creative. I like to do different designs. I like the collecting aspect as well. And it's just something simple that I can unwind with at the end of even each workday, because I paint my nails way too often. But just sitting down and like putting on a show and thinking of nothing else but my nails and the Vampire Diaries episode, that that we're on has been tremendously helpful for just unwinding, kind of putting a spacer at the end of each workday so I don't overwhelm myself. So it can be something as simple as that, or it can be something like drawing. If you guys have been watching this channel for a bit, you know that I have done digital art on and off since I was a kid. This past year, recently, I actually got myself a fancy iPad so that I could draw digitally again. This is a little bit cheating. It's a little bit cheating because I specifically mostly like to draw scientific sketches of flowers and insects and animals, or portraits of my characters, both of which are kind of weirdly work adjacent for me, but I do find drawing just incredibly relaxing and fulfilling because for me, creativity, a lot of it is being able to produce something that you look at and go, wow, I made this thing. The act of sketching and drawing and using colors is fulfilling some sort of like creative need within me that isn't necessarily an itch that is scratched by writing. Drawing, however, has been particularly difficult because although I've been drawing for a long time, I dropped my art minor in undergrad. I gave up on drawing for a while just because I did not have the materials to draw digitally, and I was just doing like little sketches when I felt like it. And so when I picked up that tablet pen again, that tablet stylus, I was like, I'm pretty rusty. Thankfully, I found Portrait Painting on Procreate, How to Start on a Solid Foundation, which is a class on Skillshare by the digital artist Gabrielle Brickley. Although I usually just talk about Skillshare's like writing related classes on here because obviously I'm a writer, you guys are mostly writers. We want to know about writing stuff. I just wanted to shout out this class because it has been so helpful for me to kind of get back on my feet and figure out how to draw again, which I have not done for a very long time, prior to a couple months ago. And it also helped me navigate a brand new program. I had never used Procreate before. I'd never used like a pen to surface type of tablet. I thought this class was so entry level without being too entry level. It gave me a lot of fundamentals for the program and just for like portrait painting in general that were a super helpful refresh. It also comes with 17 free Procreate brushes, which is a lot. So if you're also interested in dabbling in art, playing around with sketching your own characters, or just picking up a new skill or refreshing an old one, or learning more about writing, literally there's so many options on Skillshare, and they have given me a deal just for you guys, which we love a deal here.
The first 500 people to use my link in the description or scan the QR code shown here will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Get started today.
Thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Outside of just finding new creative hobbies to refill that creative well and finding ways to spend my time in a way that is not stressful to me, I do love writing. I do find it very fulfilling at all steps of the process, even the steps that drive me completely insane. Now that I've turned in Crypts, which was my adult gothic fantasy with a touch of romance about necromancers. Now that I've turned it in, I am starting to worry a little bit about like inspiration. Like, do I still have story ideas in me? So another piece of this puzzle is really figuring out ways to give myself that creative rest time that you need in order to let ideas fully marinate or inspiration come to you. I don't know what it is, but inspiration never comes to me while I'm busy and thinking about work or, you know, clubs or just like any of the million things I have to do in a day. Inspiration comes to me in the dead of the night when I am on my 1-hour commute to work, or when I'm just like sitting around doing absolutely nothing with no input. So boredom is really important. It is so difficult for me, just like in terms of my personality as well as in terms of being a person with ADHD, to sit still and let the world kind of wash over me. I got into a really bad habit where I love hiking, not in this weather, but in better weather. I love to hike. I love to go outdoors. I found that I was like hitting a point where I couldn't hike without some sort of input, like music playing or a podcast or an audiobook. When I was back in California over the winter and it was really green and it was like 70 degrees the whole time, California is crazy. I went on a hike with my dad and brother and I gave myself like no podcast, audiobook, anything to listen to, and just kind of like went without headphones. A lot of it was walking in silence, just kind of absorbing. I was identifying plants, listening to the bird song, and I think I need more moments like that. Not just moments where I'm bored because I was hiking, so I wasn't bored, but moments where I am not actively using my brain all the time and I'm not sitting in my house. So I guess I need to go outside and touch grass more. I also need less input from screens, less input from social media. I do not need to be on that every single day. There's nothing, no valuable input is coming in there. I'm never going to be inspired to write a story based off something that I've seen on socials. So basically letting myself be bored, interrupting my constant influx of information from screens, and just in general, just enjoying those moments of quiet throughout the day. Up next, very, very related, but it is reduced screen time. I think I'm currently hovering at about like 3 to 4 hours per day, which I don't know how I squeeze that in, considering that I like work all day. So I would really like to cut that down to maybe an hour tops. I will say that having to be on social media more because of the pressures of marketing and publicity for my novel release this year, that has definitely like allowed me to justify myself going on Instagram. Like I didn't have Instagram on my phone for the longest time, and now I go on it almost every day. I don't even know why. But in general, I would like to prioritize just keeping screen time as a work thing, like using it for writing. Obviously, I write on a computer, so there's kind of no way out there. Keeping it reserved for that kind of work, writing work, drawing digitally, I guess, is also a screen time thing, and emails and that kind of stuff. Like, I really don't want to associate social media doom scrolling with leisure time. I don't want to have that association, and I do right now, and I think a lot of us do, and there's no shame in it, but that's just not something I want as part of my life. So basically keeping it for content creation, keeping it for things that I'm required to do as part of my book promotion cycle of kind of nightmares. Honestly, it's not been that bad, but kind of nightmares. And writing and other like necessary tasks, and not for just looking at videos of cats, because I actually have 2 cats, so I can just look at them even though they hate me. Next up is treating reading as seriously as I treat writing, or specifically making the time for reading. I think I've been pretty good about listening to audiobooks on my commute, which has helped me like break into my TBR pile a lot more. I am starting to accumulate a lot more physical books than I'm comfortable with. Usually with physical books, I'll buy them used and then read them and then sell them back to half-price books for like pennies, but whatever. And I don't hang on to books unless they are like an absolute 6-star favorite read of all time, and that's the only reason I'll hold on to them. But I have been accumulating books much faster than I've been reading them, and that's a little shameful because I don't really have the space for all this. I wish you could see the stacks of books on the headboard here. But I also, very much like many writers, I can tell when I haven't been reading enough because my writing absolutely suffers for it. Lately, I've been reading a lot of rom-coms. I read my first Ali Hazelwood, and I'm reading an Emily Henry, and I want to break into more rom-coms as like market research, but I also want to just read for enjoyment. I don't know if I'm still capable of that. I think it's been so long. It's been so many years of me reading as a writer instead of reading as a reader that like I just don't have the same relationship with books that I think most people who are primarily readers have, which is a shame. I really want to figure out a way to crack this and enjoy reading again. I miss the times when I was a kid and I would literally read through the night. I would have a camping headlight and I would go under the covers after my parents were asleep and like just read. I miss that energy. Where did she go? I would just really love to get back to just reading for enjoyment, reading instead of doom scrolling, especially if it's reading a physical book rather than the books that I have loaded onto my phone. Next up on the docket is chasing new experiences. 2025 was absolutely a year of new experiences for me, especially in terms of writing. Obviously, I was going through a lot of firsts with my debut and the lead up to its release. I went to auction about a year ago in 2025 for the first time. There were a lot of like career firsts, but also there were a lot of career firsts in that I met a lot of people. I got a new job, like a day job. I got a new day job. I got my first like big girl job with health insurance and a salary. I met up with people, strangers from the internet. Don't do this at home, kids, but I went on 2 writing retreats that were absolutely transformative, beautiful experiences. And 2026 is shaping up to be a huge year of like new experiences for me. I really want to travel as much as possible. I want to travel with my partner because he's not really a travel guy, but I'm gonna make him. I'm going to France in like just a month and a half, really, and I'm hosting a sort of writing retreat there in Le Mans in the countryside. I'm going back to California, taking my partner up to Northern California, and I have some other unannounced trips coming up as well that are kind of in the pipeline, in development. Chasing new experiences, going on trips again and traveling. I was hugely lucky to be born into a family that really values travel. Like, my parents are incorrigible nomads, so I was from an early age like able to prioritize that. But international travel definitely isn't really something I've done in a while. I got really bad burnout after I came back from Thailand, and that was in like 2024. I've been burnt out on travel ever since, but I'm feeling the itch again. I want to go places. I want to go to new places and get inspiration for my stories and worlds. I really want to go to Italy because that's what a lot of Crypts is based off of. Maybe I should have gone before I started writing it and then called it research. We'll figure that out later. But also, I've found a lot of value in having little adventures close to home, meeting up with random people and going to new spots and spaces in my city or the areas around us has been really fun. And it's a good way to get kind of a daily dose of just something different, something other than staying at home and staring at the screen and working every minute I get. Okay, next up is a little bit more specific to me, but it is letting my creativity guide my writing career and not the other way around. I definitely wasted a lot of 2025 sitting around and trying to think of what story that I have marinating on the back burner, simmering on the back burner. You don't marinate things on a... Trying to figure out which of my story ideas would best fit into my career, which is non-existent, by the way. I was thinking a lot about author identity. I was thinking a lot about branding. Like, if I come out with multiple books that are sort of gothy, horror adjacent, sort of upmarket fantasy spec types of books with really unlikable female protagonists, was that what I was going to have to write forever? And I was trying to like come up with all these ideas that I wasn't feeling drawn to that would fit into that like fake lineup that I had in my head. But this year I have just realized I don't care for any of that. I'm going to write a rom-com. If I have to publish it under a pen name, or if it never gets published, I don't really care. I am going to write an urban fantasy, probably paranormal romance. I want to play around in these different genre spaces and tones and voices. Like, the voice of my rom-com, as it should be, is drastically different from MOTHSBLOOD and even CRYPTS. Well, those two have a similar voice, but the voice for my rom-com is like funny, it's modern, there's a lot of like references, and it's not at all, I think, a book that most people would pick up and go, this is from the same person who wrote MOTHSBLOOD or CRYPTS. I don't really care. I think that like author branding is kind of overrated. Like, it's good to have a cohesive brand. It's good that writers or readers will know that if they like one of your books, they'll probably like the rest. But what does that service other than the bottom line, right? In a way, wouldn't it be even better for the bottom line if you diversified your audience? I don't know. I'm trying to like justify it with capitalism talk. Listen, the main character in the food truck rom-com I'm writing has an MBA, which is an MBA from Haas in Berkeley, mind you, which disgusting. So I'm kind of going a little bit method here. That sort of tail end of 2025 to right now, I've experienced a creative shift, a really seismic one, if I'm being honest, in that I have felt more drawn to upbeat and positive stories. I was writing some pretty grim and depressing stuff before, and currently in this moment in time don't want to keep writing those types of stories, and I have ideas for stories that are more uplifting and happy and light, but still pack a punch in terms of theme and character and stuff like that. Like, there's still going to be books that I spend a lot of time on and put a lot of thought into and have very clear messaging. Like, honestly, some of the thematic work in the food truck rom-com is, I think, my best thematic work. I think I convey the themes the best with these characters, which is really interesting. And if people don't want to read it, they don't want to read it. I say all this, but I'm still very scared to be like, hey, I have 100 pages of this thing to my professional contacts. But that is absolutely a problem for future Lynn, and right now I'm just kind of having fun with my writing again. We are now down to the last point of this video, and it is to not put restrictions on myself. After I finished and turned in the first draft of CRYPTS a couple weeks ago, a lot of people were asking me like how long my break would be, how much I would rest. By the end of that same week, I had 80 pages of a food truck rom-com. Not all of them were like written wholesale. A lot of it was me reviewing and like revising what I'd already written and pushing it back into a shape. I realized that I didn't really need a break. I wasn't drawn to a break, and I don't think imposing a break on myself would have helped much. I think it would have just made me kind of rusty. So I just let myself loose. Like in greyhound races where they just open the gate and the dog like shoots out. That's kind of how I feel all the time. My brain wants to be free. My brain wants to create. I'm not going to like run out of creative energy or juices at any point. I'm just gonna keep letting myself do what I want to do. And for right now, that has been the food truck rom-com. I'm talking about it an awful lot. Let me know if you guys want like a summary video of this project like I did for Project Moths, although I just called it Project Moths again. Like I did for MOTHSBLOOD. I promise I'll talk a little bit more about the food truck whip in a little bit. It is called Project Sunshine, is the short term shorthand for it. But right now I'm just kind of like enjoying my time with it, letting it be just a thing for me and the project and myself, and also I sent 3 chapters to Becca. The point of this point is that there's no need for you to force a break on yourself if your body and brain and soul aren't feeling it. I think it's totally okay to jump into the next thing, even if you do end up taking a break after. Sometimes you build up a lot of momentum in the act of drafting or revising a book and trying to hit a deadline, and it's okay if that like steam carries you a little bit further. Personally, for me, I built a lot of like habits that I don't necessarily want to break, but also I don't feel like breaking, just in terms of writing on the weekends, writing during some of my break periods at work, or my lunch break as it usually happens to be. And I just kind of let those habits carry me like a current, writing whatever I wanted. That sums up the video. These are the things that I'm going to try. These are the things I've been thinking about and might not end up trying, but who cares, in terms of maintaining creative health and energy and sort of sustaining that side of myself, even when I'm not actively on deadline, even when I'm not actively pursuing writing career goals. I'm not sure when this video will come out, but I am opening up a Q&A form specifically for Project CRYPTS, which again is my adult gothic fantasy with a touch of romance about a vengeful death priestess infiltrating a household of necromancers for revenge, obviously. So if you have any questions about that book, what the drafting process has been, what next steps are going to look like, there is a Google form linked below and in the comment section. Feel free to drop a line. It also can just be like a publishing or MOTHSBLOOD question. I figure I'll call it a CRYPTS Q&A, but if some other questions sneak in, that is totally okay. One last time, daily reminder to please add MOTHSBLOOD on Goodreads and Storygraph and pre-order it if you feel inclined. I am so excited for this book to come out in 8 months. I'm so excited for publishing stuff to ramp up and become more public so I can like share some of the amazing things that have happened for me and for this book over the past year and a half, or however long it's been. I don't know. Thank you so much as always for watching this video. If you liked it, you know what to do. And if you want to watch more videos about writing and my thoughts on writing, or just my publishing and writing journey, then go ahead and subscribe. All right, that is all for now. See you all next time.